Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the extraordinary life of Gregory Peck, a name that echoes through Hollywood history like a timeless melody. This is the story of a man who embodied integrity, courage, and heart, both on the screen and in real life. A man who, at the age of 87, shared a confession that shook the world. The love of his life was a secret he'd carried for decades. Who was she, and why did he wait so long to tell us? Let's unravel the journey of a legend, from his humble beginnings to his final, heartfelt words. Born on April 5, 1916, in La Jolla, California, Eldred Gregory Peck didn't have the easiest start. His parents divorced when he was just 6 years old, leaving him to be raised by his grandmother, a woman who instilled in him a quiet strength that would later define his presence. Life wasn't always kind to young Greg, but he was determined, sharp as a tack, and driven. He enrolled at San Diego State University before transferring to UC Berkeley, where he studied English and pre-med, dreaming of a career in medicine. But fate had other plans. During his college years, he stumbled into theater, and something clicked. The stage lit a fire in him, a passion so intense he abandoned med school to chase the spotlight. By the early 1940s, he was making waves on Broadway, his towering frame, deep voice, and dignified aura turning heads. In 1944, he stepped into Hollywood with his first film role, and just like that, a star was born. Gregory Peck wasn't your typical leading man. He wasn't flashy or overly polished. He had a grounded, almost noble quality that made audiences trust him instantly. His early roles showcased his versatility, from intense dramas to sweeping adventures, but it was his ability to portray characters with moral backbone that set him apart. In 1962, he took on a role that would cement his legacy, playing a Southern lawyer fighting for justice in a world steeped in prejudice. This wasn't just a performance, it was a masterclass in humanity, earning him an Academy Award for Best Actor and a place in history as the embodiment of righteousness. The American Film Institute later named his character the greatest hero in American cinema, a testament to how deeply Peck's performance resonated. But Peck's impact went far beyond the screen. He was a man who lived his values, standing up to injustice, in an era when it wasn't always safe to do so. During the McCarthy era, when fear and suspicion gripped Hollywood, Peck was a vocal critic of the blacklist, risking his career to defend his colleagues. He championed civil rights, spoke out against the Vietnam War, and advocated for nuclear disarmament, always using his platform to push for a better world. In 1969, President Lyndon B. Johnson awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, recognizing not just his talent, but his unwavering commitment to humanity. He also received the Jean Hirschholt Humanitarian Award in 1967, a nod to his tireless work for causes he believed in. Peck once said, "Tough times don't last, tough people do," a line that captured his resilience both in his roles and in his real life. Now, let's get to the heart of the story, the part that makes this tale so gripping. Gregory Peck's personal life was as complex and compelling as any of his films. In 1942, he married Greta Kukkonen, a Finnish-American woman whose grace and strength grounded him as his star began to rise. Together, they had 3 sons, Jonathan in 1944, Stephen in 1946, and Carrie Paul in 1949. Those early years were a whirlwind of success, with Peck's career skyrocketing, but fame came with its pressures. The demands of Hollywood strained their marriage, and by 1955, after more than a decade together, they divorced, marking a somber chapter in Peck's life. The loss of that stability was tough, but nothing compared to the tragedy that would strike years later. In 1975, Peck's eldest son, Jonathan, died by suicide at the age of 30. The loss was devastating, a wound that never fully healed. Peck spoke openly about the pain, saying, It's the most terrible thing that's ever happened to me. You never get over a thing like that." The grief reshaped him, revealing the vulnerability behind the stoic hero the world knew. Amid these personal struggles, there was another secret, one that would remain buried for decades. In the 1940s, while working on a film that demanded intense emotional connection, Peck fell deeply in love with his co-star, a legendary actress whose brilliance and warmth captivated him. Their affair was brief but profound, a connection that transcended the set. Both were married at the time, bound by duty and responsibility, so their love couldn't last. Yet, the memory of her lingered, a bittersweet echo in his heart. In 1987, in a rare moment of candor, Peck spoke about her to a journalist, saying, "All I can say is that I had a real love for her, and I think that's where I ought to stop. I was young, she was young. We were involved for weeks, in close and intense work." But it wasn't until he was 87, in the final chapter of his life, that he fully opened up, confessing, "She was the love of my life. I've never stopped thinking about her." He described her as a soul that burned with light, her laughter, intellect, and warmth etched into his memory. "Some loves," he said, "leave a mark that time can't erase," and for Peck, she was that love, a forever presence despite the years and paths that separated them. After his divorce from Greta, Peck found a new chapter of love with Veronique Pisani, a Parisian journalist who interviewed him in 1952. Their first meeting was professional, but something sparked. 6 months later, Peck invited her to lunch, and what began as a simple meal grew into a lifelong partnership. They married on New Year's Eve 1955, just a day after his divorce was finalized, and together they built a family with 2 children, Anthony in 1956 and Cecilia in 1958. Veronique was his rock, a woman of intellect and compassion who stood by him through every triumph and tragedy. Their marriage lasted nearly 5 decades, a testament to their deep bond. Anthony would later carve a path in entertainment, even marrying supermodel Cheryl Tiegs for a time, while Cecilia became a respected documentary filmmaker, carrying forward her father's legacy of storytelling and social justice. Peck's family extended to his grandchildren, including actor Ethan Peck, who bears a striking resemblance to his grandfather and has taken on iconic roles like a young Spock in the Star Trek franchise. The Peck name continues to shine in Hollywood, a living tribute to a man who inspired generations. Beyond his family and films, Peck's commitment to making a difference never wavered. He was a vocal supporter of the arts, serving as a founding member of the National Endowment for the Arts and advocating for cultural initiatives. He spoke out against censorship, fought for equality, and used his platform to amplify marginalized voices. His humanitarian work wasn't just a side project, it was a core part of who he was. He believed in the power of stories to change hearts and minds, and he chose roles that reflected those values, from tales of justice to stories of human connection. His filmography spans genres, with performances that remain classics, earning him 5 Academy Award nominations and countless accolades. But for Peck, it wasn't about the awards. It was about the impact, about leaving the world a little better than he found it. As he entered his later years, Peck remained a figure of grace and dignity, his silver hair and warm smile a reminder of the strength he'd always projected. In 2003, at the age of 87, Gregory Peck passed away peacefully in his sleep in Los Angeles, succumbing to bronchopneumonia, a serious lung infection. By his side was Veronique, his partner of nearly 50 years, whose presence had been a constant through the highs and lows. His death marked the end of an era, a moment when Hollywood and the world paused to mourn a giant. His funeral was a gathering of legends, with figures like Lauren Bacall, Sidney Poitier, Harrison Ford, and Harry Belafonte coming to pay their respects. Brock Peters, who shared the screen with Peck, in that iconic 1962 film, delivered a moving eulogy, speaking not just of Peck's talent, but of the values he stood for. The event was a celebration of a life well lived, a man who touched countless lives through his art and his actions. In those final years, Peck's confession about his lost love wasn't born of regret, but of reflection. It was a moment of vulnerability from a man who had spent his life playing heroes, a reminder that even legends are human, with hearts that love deeply and carry quiet sorrows. He described his life as full, rich with family, purpose, and meaning, but he admitted that some moments, some people, stay with you forever. That woman from his past, the one who captured his heart in the 1940s, was one of those moments, a love that burned bright and left an indelible mark. For Peck, speaking her name at 87 wasn't about rewriting his story. It was about honoring a truth he'd held close, a piece of his heart he wanted the world to understand. Gregory Peck's legacy is more than just a collection of films or awards. It's the story of a man who stood tall in the face of adversity, who used his voice to fight for justice, who loved fiercely and mourned deeply, and who, in his final days, chose to share a piece of his soul with the world. His children and grandchildren carry forward his creative spirit. His humanitarian work continues to inspire, and his performances still move audiences decades later. He was a man who lived by his principles, who faced tough times with toughness, and who reminded us that love, in all its forms, is what makes life unforgettable. So, what do you think of Gregory Peck's incredible journey? A man who played heroes, lived as one, and loved with a heart that never forgot. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if this story touched you, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the lives of Hollywood's greatest legends. We're here every week, bringing you stories that inspire, move, and make you think. Until next time, keep chasing your own legacy, and we'll catch you in the next one.